2022 has been a great year for horror films considering how many different types of films we've gotten this year. There's been retro slashers like X, surreal social horror like Men, satirical slashers like the new Scream, and even animated horror with The House. But one of the most refreshing horror aspects of subversion was present in two films this year, those films being Jordan Peele's Nope and Zach Krieger's Barbarian. What these two films have in common, besides both being directed by comedic actors, is that they have the nope moment. There's a common joke that people tell about horror movies, that if the central characters were intelligent, the film would be over fast. The characters would take one look at the haunted house or the dark basement and simply say nope before departing. And there you go, movie over. The films Nope and Barbarian are aware of this aspect of nope, and use it in a rather clever way. The films don't just end when the character refuses to engage. They find new ways to continue after the punchline. Let's start with Jordan Peele's Nope. This is a film all about an unknown flying creature that terrorizes a desert community, plucking up people and horses to eat. Otis Haywood Jr., trying to save his horse ranch, tries to figure out how to capture footage of this threat with the help of his sister Em. As the film progresses, it becomes clear that the creature is not just an alien, but a stand-in for the demands of the audience. This is evident in how the creature resembles more of a camera and will only consume those who stare at it. At a crucial point in the film, the creature looms over Otis's truck. Otis only slightly peeks his head out the door to notice the creature directly above him. He then states the movie's title while he sits in his car, refusing to become the dinner and show for the creature. Otis refuses to play the game of the creature, and it works for a bit. Eventually, however, the creature gets angry and chucks an artificial horse through his windshield. The creature wants blood, and if it doesn't get it, it will grow agitated and violent, similar to the way a dissatisfied audience may chuck their popcorn at the screen. In that moment, Otis is not just refusing to enter a scary scene, but refusing to give the horror genre what it usually demands. Horror movies are a real draw for characters being thrown into scary situations, and sometimes the path to getting there usually involves a lapse in judgment. A character might trip into a dark basement, have their car break down outside a spooky house, or in the case of some slasher movies, just make some dumb decision to speed up the process of getting to the next scary moment or violent death. The rest of the movie Nope proceeds with the central characters refusing to become victims of the creature. They turn the camera around on the genre, forcing it to question itself and what we desire out of entertainment. Nope's central characters are intrigued by the creature and its very spectacle of tragedy, but those not mystified by the very being are willing to question and outsmart it. Those who don't, like the child actor or aged director, ultimately end up as its victims. Zach Krieger's Barbarian also has a nope moment, but it is far different from Peele's film. Not just in terms of the genres that it dabbles in, but how it subverts social horror. Social horror is a subgenre that usually carries a greater societal message on top of all the scary blood and guts. With the social horror being far more trendy these days, audiences have almost become conditioned to scope out the bigger message, or, for lack of a better term, the hidden meaning behind the horror. Barbarian is brilliant because it never settles long enough for the audience to properly peg the film. The moment that you think you understand everything that's going on, the story is flipped on its head, often with tonal or grotesque whiplash. So at first, you think it's a thriller where Tess will be murdered in her Airbnb, currently occupied by the nervous Keith. And you would be wrong. You may think it's a vindication story for the misogynist and rapist actor AJ, and you would be wrong. If you have not seen this movie, I will not spoil all the big twists here. I'll just address the nope moment for this video. So, the nope moment in Barbarian occurs when Tess first enters the basement. She becomes locked downstairs and searches for another way out. After exploring around, she eventually opens a hidden door that leads into darkness. She immediately remarks, "Nope," and decides not to enter. Which is pretty funny, the audience got a big laugh out of this, but now what? She's still stuck in the basement. There's a window that she could attempt to break, or she could just wait for her Airbnb mate to come home. Eventually, though, she decides to use the natural light of the room to go down the dark hallway. This is a foolish move that will probably infuriate most of the audience with the common horror tropes of the victims making stupid mistakes. The film, somewhat aware of this, just forces the characters into the scary parts of the house. It forgoes its previously established smart horror character who says nope, and just goes with one who will willingly walk into terror, like a moth to a flame. Krieger's film is playing with our perceptions of what the audience comes to expect from horror. Rather than rely on characters who are smart enough to root for or dumb enough that they deserve to be killed, this movie provides a mixture of both. And it all leads to a darkly comedic take on horror where Krieger is as much toying with the audience as Jordan Peele's film points the camera back at them. It makes sense for these movies to become this self-aware. The admittance of the phrase nope is a common reaction from the audience, typically the annoying kind who likes to shout back at the theater screen. It's external to the film because it makes the characters feel more relatable, for replicating an audience's hardened strategies for horror movie logic. It's for this reason that the phrase nope should only be used sparingly and creatively within horror. Using the nope reaction is funny, but only if you have an idea of where to go from there. Peele's Nope recognized this and turned the monster into the demands of the camera. Krieger's Barbarian recognized this and pushed the characters into the tropes, because it's both exciting for the terror that follows and funny for just how bold the director pushes forward. Having characters attempt to disengage from a horror story is comical, but only if the disengagement leads somewhere else. If this disengagement simply ends the film, as so many have joked about in the past, then it robs horror films of the very reason that people watch these movies in the first place. This is why Nope and Barbarian are really unique. They take a form of disengagement and never give the characters the satisfaction of escaping the terror entirely. It's a fun and challenging aspect of horror movies that is worth exploring. Not to mention, it feels so good to challenge the annoying audience member who constantly inserts themselves into the narrative, stating what they would do and how they would successfully survive this movie. You know the type I'm talking about, the ones who just openly talk about how they wouldn't make these mistakes and they'd be just fine in this horror movie. But that's kinda missing the point of horror. Horror films are usually about not feeling safe and being presented with a terror that challenges limits. And these two films challenge the self-insert egotism of the audience by assuring there is no easy route to take in these scenarios. You can say nope to the alien in the sky, but it will still come after you and demand to be entertained. You can say nope to the creepy basement, but this is a horror movie and the movie itself will force you down there anyway. All of this reinforces an incredibly important aspect of fiction. Everything is mutable by the author. If the horror could be ended by something as simple as a nope, then there is no reason to be scared and no reason for the horror movie to continue. Because horror films will more often lean towards fear rather than away from it, disengagement means nothing in a horror film, where the frights often come whether the characters want them to or not. Just saying nope will not save you in a horror movie, but it can still be funny that the characters think it would.